The Journal of the Witch, Jack Storm Ryder. Year 1, Spring, Week 5. I have been informed by the Council's message that I, quote, need to be more informative on my cases as these recordings will be used for the teachings of future witches at some point. And so I suppose I will, though how useful the outpost living parts of these reports will be for the apprentices remains to be seen. This past week, I had a repeat patient. Orla, the Sword Maiden from the 3rd week of spring earlier this year. She was in a surprising sight. Case 5, Hair of the Dog. Patient name, Orla of Rannoch. Job, Sword Maiden. Description: Orla stands at 6 feet 4 inches, wears her blonde hair in long braids. She comes in today wearing her gambeson against the chill air. Her eye color is the most entrancing green. Her eye color is green. Ailment: due to what sounded like a very rowdy night of drinking friends that was a shame to miss, I diagnosed Orla with the most ancient of ailments, a hangover. Tags are poison 1 and stomach 1. There is a time limit I have on this. Due to how short this ailment will last, I must gather my reagents within 4 hours, or there will be little point in her even having coming out here. Reagents I have deemed necessary are crow coal for the poison and stomach, and surgeon sap to take away the bitter flavor of the coal. I have found that crow coal coffee can fight a hangover well. I have no coffee caps on hand, but the surgeon sap should at least make it more palatable. With list in hand, I let Orla lay down in my bed as the golem was still working on the treatment room. I left her with a bucket, just in case. The last thing I need is... Anyway, I made my way down to Hero's Hollow. As I skulked my way through the hollow, a suit of armor stops and then corners me. He calls himself the Baron, and demanded I duel him as he plunged a saber into the cracks of the stone floor. I made the mistake of not taking this malevolent poltergeist more seriously. In my attempt to simply move past him, I was met with a swift blow to the ribs by the backside of his blade. As he left laughing, he mocked, "Keep it, and mayhaps next time you'll be more fun." I took the saber with me. As I kept up my search, I came across a shop run by a small furry creature I couldn't for the life of me identify. It had blue-black fur, several eyes, 2 legs but 4 arms. It gestured excitingly to its collection of wares. I looked through and found a cord and band for my new saber, as well as a manual for dueling. I can only assume the Baron and this creature have a racket going on down here. I tried to pay in silver, and it refused and pointed to my belt. Luckily, it only wanted the buckle, and I could tie the leather in a way that would keep my pants up. I finally managed to find some crow coal in the deeper parts of the hollow. As I gathered it, I stumbled headfirst into the Dark Lord of the Underlands. A tall man, at over 7 feet, he was well-dressed and well-mannered. He apologized to me and even invited me to dinner. I told him that I couldn't today, and he said, "How about Friday then?" So I have a dinner appointment on Friday now. Reagent in hand, I made my way home with time to spare. Black tonic. Crow coal, crushed for poison and stomach. Surgeon sap for sweet. Crush crow coil in mortar and pestle until fine powder. Stir into boiling water. Mix in raw surgeon sap. Drink warm. Once the tonic was ready, I called over to Orla. She groaned in return. Tonic's ready. I handed her the cup. She thanked me and took it in one go. "So, interesting adventure?" she asked, pointing at my new saber at my thigh. "Oh yes, that. I met a creature in the hollow called the Baron." She laughed. "He's such a pain in the arse." She stood and reclasped her gambeson. "If you'd like, I could teach you some. If you'd like, that is." "I would, thank you." We smiled at each other for a nice moment. A moment broken by the sounds of both our hungry stomachs. "I can put the kettle on, and I think I have some cold cuts if you'd like to stay for lunch," I offered. Orla stretched. "That sounds fantastic." I made lunch for us, and in the afternoon she helped me learn some of the finer points of dueling. As the sun set, I walked with her to the village. We spent most of it in a comfortable silence. It was a good day. I found myself running errands in the village, and as I was out and about, I came across one of Farmer Jack's pigs eating out of the copper fox's compost. Only 3 more of them to find, till I get that garden plot. As I made my way back to town from returning the pig, a Miss Malloy, the elder matriarch of the Malloys, or at least that's how she introduced herself, stopped me. She simply had to know if the rumor was true. I inquired on said rumor, and she informed me that Mr. Miller had mentioned that Orla had spent the day with a certain local witch. Apparently, my blushing face was all the confirmation she needed. She patted my shoulder and said, "Go get her. You'd be hard to find better." I'm beginning to rethink helping Mr. Miller with his affliction from earlier this year. There might be a more deeper reason for why someone had done that. Deciding to avoid the village, I took some time learning the grove. Without realizing it, I stumbled into what I have now learned is called Weaver's Wood. This is a part of the Glimmerwood Grove home to giant spiders. Fairly large, the size of a large farm pig at what I saw to be their largest, and in their smallest, the size of a large chicken, I would say would be a good resemblance. At least the body of it. Ugh. They whispered to each other, and I could just make it out. And apparently, they thought I would taste best screaming. Staff in one hand, saber in the other, I politely informed them that I would set the forest aflame if they tried. A younger spider, it came to about knee-high of me, attempted to sneak up on me, but Bryn warned me, and with a slash of my saber, I took the rude thing's left mandible. It retreated in pain, and the chorus of spiders got louder. I lit the end of my staff and breathed life into the fire. It lashed whip-like around me. Several smaller webs burned away from the heat. I informed them of who I am and that I am keeping the mandible. I told them that if they try this again, I will curse them for generations. The course was quiet as I left the Weaver's Wood. As I travel home, it seems people wish to test me this week. A rock loose from a sling hit me hard in my left shoulder. I cursed loudly, and the culprit responded something about territory and truffles. I took his gift of a sympathetic link and cursed him to not be recognized on the first glance. It won't be a long curse, just a full rotation of the moon from new to new. I hope he learns, and several rocks find his head. My shoulder was healed by Friday. I debated as what I should wear and bring. I didn't want to be rude, but I'll be damned if I'm caught off guard again. I decided to wear my good vest and take my saber with me to the Dark Ruler's dinner. On my way down to the hollow, I managed to find one of Farmer Jack's pigs, a welcome surprise. I did have the time, so I did bring it back home. After a saved pig, I entered the hollow proper, and was met by an underling of the Dark Ruler. This underling didn't speak, nor did they show their face, or reveal theirs or the Dark Lord's names. So followed a quiet but quick walk through the hollow. We came into a feasting hall, with a long table. The Dark Ruler beckoned me forward, and the underling pulled out a chair for me. He complimented my formality and practicality in my choice of dress and gear with me. Food started to come in, roasts, soups, something dark and sweet, but also bubbly in a way. We talked of many things, but mostly he was interested in magic and theory around portals. He said that he was trying to open a portal to a place called the Strange, and that the drink we had was called Dark Water. Now, I had been meaning to look into the Strange for some time since I first read about it in that book early on this year, so this was quite a welcome surprise for me. Apparently, dark water is very rare outside of this realm, and what we had was the last of his stock. He handed me a codex of his and asked if I could go through his glyphs and sacred geometries. I said I would on one condition, that I would also be allowed to travel to the strange whenever I wish. He seemed to debate this to himself before nodding. I agreed to these terms, which he struck out his hand and we shook on it. I followed him to the workshop and found a small handful of mistakes that would have clearly blown up the lab. He, concerned, apparently he has been using this project as a punishment for disobedient servants. Say what you want about the aristocracy, but at least he has no delusions about his evils. After my alterations were made, a prick of blood from each of us was used to activate the circle. With a bright light, a portal of shining in golds and vibrant reds opened in the air at the center of the circle. Seeing into it showed what looked like a town center. I chose not to investigate this new realm yet, but I will document this strange realm as it comes up. End report.